Good evening, everyone. I welcome you to today's session. This is the third of our 5-day exciting webinar series. I'm Abolaji Abdurrahman, and I will be taking you through. I'll be the moderator of this enriching experience. If you are glad to join us, kindly send us emojis. Let's engage the comments. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. Yeah, just share us your name, where you are actually joining us from, and what you hope to gain from today's session. Yeah, I can see Ibrahim. Thank you for joining Moturayo. You're welcome. Mobolaji is also giving us his emoji. Great, great, great. Today we would be having our incredible speakers who will be sharing their expertise on an exciting topic. And what's that? Setting up auto scaling, for your various services. And trust me, this is going to be an insightful one, and you don't want to, miss it. So in the call today, we have Ablatif Ogundepe from Arthurite Integrated. We also have Nomso, who will be taking us through a demo on this exciting topic: dynamic scalability, optimizing application performance with AWS autoscaling and load balancing. Yeah, the comment section is full. I can see Mobolaji Abimbola from Ogun State, Ejibode Ibrahim from Lagos. It's nice having you all here. Let's keep it coming. So while we expect your name and your location, don't forget that uh, those who are engaging, our participants in this webinar series who are engaging our series you know, uh, will be considered for AWS vouchers and some uh, exciting things, and which their names will be announced on our Arthurite Integrated Partner event, which will be holding in Lagos. I hope you'll be among one of them. So keep engaging in the comment section. Today's session promised to be an insightful one. You know, our lineup of speakers are actually ready to give us value. So, not to waste most of our time, I would like to invite to the stage Abdulateef Ogundipe, who will be uh, taking us through dynamic scalability, optimizing application performance with AWS autoscaling and load balancing. And then Nomso will actually join him from there. So Ablatif Ogundipe, you have the floor.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It's so good to join you from here. Abdurrahman, please, can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, great one, great one. I'm so glad to be the facilitator, the speaker, one of the speaker for this session, and I really hope at the end of the day it will be worth it. I can only promise you. So today, just as I have been introduced, I am Abdulatif, and I will be taking us through the topic, dynamic scalability. optimizing application performance with AWS, auto-scaling, and load balancing. So normally before I go into my slide, typically I do give a slide to just put a practical scenario, because the way the speakers have organized this slide for today, it's for everybody. If you're a beginner, if you're mid-level, if you're expert, there's something that you gain from here. So just to bring it at a very basic stuff, I want to give an illustration. So let's take for example, we have a company. Let's take for example, I think most of us here in Nigeria, we all know about Jumia. And take for instance, there might be a situation, there are situations whereby Jumia launches Black Friday. So when they try to sell product, and what it means by Black Friday is that they want to sell product at less price. And there's very possibility that there will be a lot of people that will target this date so that they can buy. So what that implies is that there will be a lot of people going to their websites, eager to learn more about the product they are trying to give and trying to make purchase. Conventionally, maybe Jumia, I'm just using this as an example, it does not connote what the company is doing. Maybe they are just using a website that is just having maybe 2 processing instances. Maybe because that's their constant workload in a way. Maybe they notice it, but they didn't plan for maybe thinking of this kind of scalability, even though in a kind of nutshell, you should in a practical sense they should think of it. But we are assuming that they didn't think of that. They just leave it as two instances and they didn't scale up. What do you think will happen? Number one, there will be a lot of traffic and there will be some visitors who will not be able to make purchase. They will not be able to access because other people are already accessing it. Number one, what I want to actually bring from this is that due to the case of that e-commerce sites, commerce websites not planning for scaling, number one, they lose sales because the people that are unable to buy, they won't be able to buy. That means they lose sales. Number two, frustrated customer become frustrated. They will think that's how it is, because there are some people, the first time they will come to that website is because of that promo. So from that impression, they won't even bother. They will be frustrated and they will not bother coming to the website, and that will damage a company. I'm very sure this is not something any company wants to have as their reputation. And that is exactly why the topic, dynamic scalability, is a very, very important topic for companies, organizations, and even people, professionals within the cloud, uh, within the cloud sector should know about. And how we'll be trying to take you through how this can be achieved through auto scaling and load balancing. So I really hope this foundation that I've given will really set a pace for you to understand the reason why we're having this presentation and the reason why it's very important. So please pay attention and follow me through. In the next couple of minutes, I'll be taking you through some several things. All right, so majorly, there's no really great story. We have 4 key things to discuss during our interaction. We'll be having the key terms and concepts. We will talk about the importance of dynamic scalability. We will discuss in-depthly, because I know there will be some people, they just want to get the knowledge of dynamic scalability. There are some professionals there who will talk about how the auto-scaling and load balancing works together, and we also look at a real-world case study. Then it will be finalized with a demo. All right. Okay, great. So now, what is dynamic scalability? I have illustrated something for you to know why we need dynamic scalability. But to simply put the definition of dynamic scalability, it is actually the ability to automatically, please, there are some keywords that, when you are defining something, they will say you can define it anyhow, but don't miss the keywords. So when we are talking about dynamic scalability, automatically, you don't need any human intervention. You just need to ensure that the settings have been done, and when it is needed to be done, it automatically does it. So it is the automatic uh, being able to automatically adjust computing resources. You know, I was talking about e-commerce websites. For those of us that have little idea about backend, you understand that there are some computing resources at the backend that whenever you try to search a website online, there are some computing resources that is helping you process it. So is the ability to automatically adjust your computing resources to meet their demand. For instance, like the example that I gave earlier, if the e-commerce website that is trying to do a Black Friday sales has put in dynamic scalability in place, whenever they have a spike in request, there is this thing based on dynamic analysis that will help increase the computing resource to help meet, and we call this thing scaling up. It helps to scale up the traffic and handle the traffic. Similarly, when there are low demands, you don't want to waste your compute resources in putting resources and they have no use. So this will also help you scale down that this is not needed. And with this, you'll be able to optimize uh, during you're able to optimize cost when there is low demand, and during peak period, you won't have any downtime where no customer will not be able to access your site. And this seems like a kind of win-win situation. And before I go ahead, let's go to the basics again. When we are talking about cloud computing, there are some key things that you should know. One of the key things that you should know is that the advantage of cloud computing is that you are trying to avoid capital expense. We call it CapEx, capital expenses. You want to replace capital expenses with operating expenses. You just want to pay for what you need. That's one of the key features of cloud computing. Now, there's also another key feature we call agility, being able to bring out resources when you need them. And that's where this dynamic scalability comes up, because at within seconds, what you need will just come up, and that's one of the key characteristics of cloud. But it does not just come automatically. You need to put in this dynamic scalability, and that's why we want to talk about the key tools, the two key tools that you need for this dynamic scalability, which is the auto scaling group and the load balancer. These are very key concepts which we'll be looking at. I really hope you are following me, because I'm trying my possible best to break this thing down, and I really hope you follow me till the end. All right. Now, I've explained dynamic scalability, and I've mentioned to you the two, in the topic, if you are following, with how to achieve optimized application using the auto scaling group and the load balancer. So it's very important that I discuss with you the key services, which are the AWS load balancer and the AWS auto scaling group, which we are going to use. So from the word, this something good about AWS, or something that the terms they use, really, you don't even need so much of explanation for you to understand that what are they trying to achieve. You see, you have something, just to put a very simple example, you have something that can process about three things that can process something. You don't want the weight of one to be more than the other. What load balancer does is that it wants to ensure that the weights that you are trying to put on these resources are equally distributed. Simple. We have computing resource A, computing resource B, computing resource C. We have 6 requests. If there is no load balancer, the 6 requests could just go to computing resource A, and there might be delay, there might be stuff. But with respect to load balancer, when the 6 request is coming, load balancer check, oh, A does not have anything, I give it 1. B does not have anything, I give it 1. C does not have anything, I give it 1. Then it checks again. Let's see, oh, A 2, it won't give the next one to A again to make it 3. No, it will give it to B, it will give it to C. So something from the word balance, this should be clear. So basically, when now come to let's just say some little jargons, distributing incoming application traffic across multiple targets to ensure reliability. So that's kind of the definition. And just for your information, even though majorly we make use of application load balancer, I just want you to be aware of that we have three types of load balancer. We have the application load balancer, we have the network load balancer, and classic load balancer. But the what differentiate them is that the type of load they handle. The application load balancer actually manages the HTTP and HTTPS traffic. What am I meaning by HTTP and HTTPS service? You will see whenever you try to log into something, if it is HTTP, you will see, even though most time you don't write it, but one is showing that one is secured and one is not secured. But it's just showing that, oh, these are the things, these are the kind of traffic whenever you try to go online and search for something. So that's when we come to the network load balancer. This might be a little bit deep, but majorly what the kind of traffic that we refer to this is TCP UDP traffic. It's actually a kind of protocol in communication. I trust me, you don't want me to go deep into that, but just have that in mind. Then we have the classic load balancer. Majorly, this is just a kind of balancer that have basic load balancing capability. So just talking as a cloud professional, you should know when it is required, what type of load balancer is required for a particular task that you want to do. So it's very essential to know. But in most cases, when it comes to traffic, websites, distributing resources and all, it is the application load balancer that is being used in most cases. All right. So let's go ahead. Now, we will be talking about the auto scaling group. Yeah, this is the very key, one of the key thing, and I have tried to place a kind of diagram. So now, AWS auto scaling group. Actually, there could be several ways of auto scaling, but when it comes to EC2 instances, because earlier I mentioned something about discussing computing resources. And when you talk about computing resources, when you look at it, we talk about the EC2 instance. The EC2 instance are instances that you can provision. They are like as if you are provisioning like a kind of if you have a operating system somewhere managing your load. So when we are now talking about the AWS auto scaling group, what it means is that you can have a auto scaling group which can adjust. Don't forget, can you see the word automatically again? Automatic. Adjust compute resources to maintain performance. When we are talking about performance, when you have high spikes, that means they will increase so that you'll be able to receive everybody that want to buy your stuff. Nobody will be denied the access to your website. Then when we now talk about the cost efficiency, when those people have left, you don't need to provision all those resources. So the auto scaling group helps you bring it down. I think this makes sense really if you follow through. It's just that you just need to be aware of it. So another very important thing that I need to let you know is about the target tracking policy. Because you'll be wondering, you said auto scaling group, how does it scale? How does it, will it just be scaling by itself? That's why we have this kind of policy. You will notice if you look closely to the diagram, the diagram beside the slide on the slide, you will see that there is the auto scaling group being linked to the policy, being linked to the CloudWorld metrics and CloudWorld alarms. So when we are talking about the target tracking policy, in this policy, you try to put in some specific metrics. It's expected that, when the CPU utilization of a particular resource is getting higher, there will be some utilization. Maybe you can just set it, the policy could be add statements. You just say that, when EC2 CPU utilization is greater than 70, something like that, improvise another one, like create another computing resource. And when this computing resource is less than maybe 20% or 50%, reduce it for it to be 1. So these are, I'm just saying this statement for you to understand that what is the concept of this target tracking policy? That means from the word there is a target, and this policy is what like is the target that is being written for the auto-scaling group is what is referred to as this policy. So for those of us that is a little bit familiar with the AWS cloud, you know that you have the CloudWatch. CloudWatch help you get metrics of all what you are using. So the values that has been set in the policy are being matched with what is being seen in the CloudWatch. And whenever that CloudWatch values are exceeding or maybe being reduced compared to what is in the policy, the CloudWatch alarms trigger the auto-scaling group to act appropriately. So this is a kind of simple explanation that I could just give to you. And for anyone that have followed me statement by statement, you should have no issue understanding how auto-scaling and the target tracking policy. So just to recap, the major component of the auto-scaling group, number one is the scaling group. That when we talk about the scaling group, that's the major thing that improvise the new instances or when there is need to reduce. The scaling policy are the conditions set for the instances to be increased or reduced. Then the CloudWatch alarms is just like kind of support, because when is the one that will be checking the metrics and saying, oh, this thing, this CloudWatch metrics of this particular resource is already exceeding what's in the policy. It will send an information to the scaling group that, oh, take action, don't let this thing either go down or don't let us waste the money of the user. I really hope you are following through as we are trying to explain the major components of the dynamic scalability. Now, this one is an interesting time for the solution architect in the house, because as a solution architect, you should know how to architect solutions. And that's why it's very essential that I present this architecture of a typical combination of a load balancer and auto scaling group. If you see just this briefly, the internet is what you see represented by the cloud. The reason why you have an internet gateway there is that if you notice, the Square Bros ask a VPC. Whenever you have a virtual private cloud, you have to attach an internet gateway to it for you to have access to internet. And from the internet gateway, you can see that the request is going through the application load balancer. So one thing that I want you to take out of here is that the application load balancer comes before the auto scaling group. The application load balancer is getting the demand. It wants to share it on the available resources in the auto scaling group. But don't forget the target tracking, which will be letting the auto scaling group to know when am I to increase my resources or reduce the resources. And that's why you see that the application load balancer is, if you look, is sharing the load into three spaces, the one in different subnets and in the auto scaling group. So if you have any situation whereby you need to architect a solution for dynamic scalability, either as a whole or as a part, this is a typical architecture diagram that you will provide for for whatever solution that you are trying to do. It's as very simple as this, really. If you have been following through, it's as simple as this. So now, this next slide, I can say that has been like the summary, like all what I've been talking about, what are the benefits, but it's just very necessary to reiterate it. It's very important to utilize AWS autoscaling and load balancing, because number one, you have improved availability. When we talk about availability, because one of the key things that if you are talking about a well architected solution, it should be very it shouldn't fail easily. Irrespective of whatever comes to it. So One of the key ways for you to ensure that your application have availability even when you have high spikes in demand or request is the auto scaling, combining auto scaling and load balancing, and it helps you. Then the second one is cost saving. You only pay for what you use. You avoid over provisioning. You don't, when you have low demand, you don't have 5 resources being provisioned, so it automatically detect that. Then resilience, okay, this was the word I was looking for. Resilience is also a very important thing. Being able to handle different operational efficiency without any intervention. No intervention, enhanced user experience is being achieved. All right, so that's about the benefit, which is just a recap. See the diagram that I've shown. If you look at the first graph, you will see that irrespective of the load, the load is the load or request that we are having is being shown by the one that looks like sine wave, the coily one, while what is being provisioned is what is the bar chart. Can you see that the first one, without dynamic scaling, irrespective of the nature of the load, everything just remains similar? That's not good. But when we are talking about the dynamic scaling, you will see that with respect to changing load patterns, you have different resources patterns too, and that's what we want. As the load is changing, we want the resources to be adjusting to meet what we have. So we are almost getting to the end because it's been a long time that I've been speaking. So I really want to mention, just because our the co-speaker will go through this, but just to kind of give a recap about how do you set up, because we said a lot. You will want to know that, oh, how do we really set up the auto scaling and AWS? Trust me, is a very, very simple and direct process. Apart from these steps, the key steps in starting auto scaling is you will define a launch template, you will create an auto scaling group, and you will configure the scaling policies. Don't forget the target policies that we talk about. That's the scaling policy. And when you create that, all these things are just, you just need to know what you want, and you create it within 5 minutes. There, 5 minutes is even too much, and just using that, that is created. And see that little time, see how much impact it will have on your workload. Similarly, for load balancing, you choose the type of load balance, you choose the target group. The target group will be the auto scaling launch template that you've created, and you attach the balance to the auto scaling group. So, like the similar case, practical example that I gave while I was speaking to you at the beginning. So this I just said, let me just start with that so that I can carry everybody along. But this was supposed to be the place where I should speak about it, but we've talked about that with a practical example. The e-commerce website experiencing seasonal traffic. The challenge is downtime during flash sales, and the solution is implementing auto scaling with ALB. The result, you have only 99.9% uptime, because and you have over that. This 20% cost reduction is just an arbitrary value, but you have a level of cost reduction when you do things right. And a lot, if there's any solution architect here or any cloud practitioner or anyone in the cloud and you are faced with this kind of problem, this is just a simple way for you to handle it. All right. So this will be what our second speaker will be taking us through. And just in a way to conclude, before I hand over to the second speaker, with AWS autoscaling and load balancing, businesses um, can unlock the power of cloud scalability. This has been what we've been talking about, being able to ensure that applications perform consistently even under fluctuating demands. It could be high, it could be low. And being able to embrace these tools, you can scale smarter, you will improve your availability and also optimize your cost. So in summary, we can say that the future of cloud the future of cloud scalability is about this, and it's very essential that every company is leveraging on this. Every cloud practitioner or cloud professional is aware of this to be able to put this architecture, put this factor this in their architecture. This is one of the basic things in when it comes to cloud computing that you should always factor in the way of managing your load. It's been over 25 minutes of speaking, and I really hope you've gained one or two things. We'll know this just reminder. So, without wasting much time, I would just like for my colleague to handle the demo session so that you see that what we are actually doing is not just a word of mouth. There are some practical things coming from Arthurite integrated. So, Nonso, good to have you, and I will let you have the show. Thank you, and I will look forward to you guys' question after the demo presentation. All right.
Uh, Thank you, Abdulatif. I think you have tipped my relevance. Even without giving a demo, I think a lot of people can easily understand what dynamic scalability is with AWS load balancing and auto scaling. Yeah, you have said it all, and um, your illustrations were top notch and straight to the point with the e-commerce service. But in case there is anybody here who doesn't even know what an e-commerce website is or who is just so new, think about a church or a mosque, and there is this big celebration. Everybody is coming. Now, the load balancer is that usher who tells you, maybe the gate man who tells you where to go park your car. Maybe there is that particular spot under the tree where everybody would want to park. Everybody is clogging around there, but the gate man will come tell other people, you can use this other space. You will still have some space here. You don't need to park here. That is what the load balancer does for an architecture on the cloud. And now for auto scaling, now think about that point where the event, the organizers thought they are going to have 10 guests, but 1,000 people turned out. And in such a at such a point, there are more than 500 cars at the gate lined up. The gate men were overwhelmed. Now, auto scaling is that service that will come to usher in a lot of gate men to be able to meet the demand of showing people where to go and access their service. So that is just a simple way of breaking it down. And I thank Abdulatif for doing justice to every other thing that has to do with that. And on the first day when we talked about Lambda, it seemed as if that service was being hyped. If you see all these things that you have to handle, auto scaling, load balancing, you can now imagine and give Lambda its flowers because it manages these things for you. You don't need to worry about scaling your machines or your servers. You don't need to worry about balancing. It handles all that. So that is that about that. We now move on to the console to see these things in action. And I will go on to share my screen. I don't know, can you see my screen?
We I can't see it here. Probably it's loading.
Okay, but you can see it now.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Can see it.
All right, we head right the console looks for load
The
balancing
I can't actually. No, so I can't see your screen.
and
Okay, now we can see it.
can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see it now. Yeah, I can.
Okay, so you find load balancing and auto scaling within the EC2 uh, service page on the dashboard on the console. When you go down, load balancing is the second to the last thing you see, while auto scaling is the very last. So we go on to click on load balancing. Let me top the page. I'm sorry, the network can make things a bit difficult, but it is eventually going to load. So we the page is coming up.
No, so I can hear some sound from your end. No, so your screen is actually not loading. We are seeing a blank page here. Oh, we lost him. I think that's due to network. Let's try to wait a bit for Nonso to come back on call. All right. Great. Right. I've been, enjoying the session. Personally, I've been learning. So I think we can go ahead with questions and answer. Ablative, if you are there, there are some questions here that are actually directed to you on what you presented, which I believe you give, answers to them. Ablative, Ablative, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Great, great. So we have some questions here for you, and
Okay.
would like to put it on. So Ibrahim Ejibode asks that I know ALB, that's application load balancer, works at layer 7, while network load balancer at layer 4 of OSI model. My question is, what is the use case for network load balancer and ASG together? Did you
Oh,
get that?
um, great. That's a great question. I'm so glad that we have someone that is familiar with the OSI layer, like the OSI model, like you have stated. Yes, you have the layer from 1 to 7, starting from the physical connection to the application to the seventh layer. So for the network load balancer, what is specific about it is about the kind of load that it can take, and which is the TCP and UDP traffic. So what we actually need to define here is that what is the kind of TCP UDP. traffic. And just to put a practical example to it, about 2 years ago, I was with a telecommunication engineering as a switch engineer. So when it comes to MSS multimedia kind of load, we talk about maybe video conferencing, anything that involves speech, whereby you need to transmit this kind of signals. That's what we refer to. Is one of the kind of signals or load that falls under the TCP and UDP traffic. It might be different. The way it's being transmitted is different from the way you receive that of the HTTP and HTTPS. Maybe where you are trying to access a site, it's different. So this TCP and UDP traffic, there are instances whereby you need to manage those kind of traffic. So you won't handle it as if you are handling the normal website, maybe e-commerce website own. So this TCP UDP, when it comes to that kind of multimedia load, which falls under the type of TCP UDP traffic, then you can combine it with application with auto scaling group to help manage that kind of traffic. So what majorly differentiates it is actually the traffic type. Why one manages the HTTP TPS, like I've stated, the other one manages this TCP UDP. So, and a practical example that I've given to you is mostly the one I can think of now is when you talk about anything communication, telecommunication. It could be maybe anything video conferencing of such. So, and that's it. I hope the answer is quite helpful.
Right. So thank you very much for that, Abdulatif. Ejibode, if that answers your question, kindly show in the comment section. So we have Nonso back on stage now. Nonso, can you hear me from your hand?
Yes, I can hear you. I didn't know my my uh, StreamYard was off. I've been talking and talking until I checked and I discovered I was talking to myself.
That's the,
So
yeah. Okay. You can just continue
I've
to share
logged
your
into
screen
the
here.
console and this is okay.
You're not you're not yet sharing your screen, so can you share your
Share.
screen?
Yeah, I'm sharing. Share. Is it up now?
It is loading. I think the network is actually giving
Can you?
issues here. I can't. It's actually it's still loading here. I can only see blank page.
Yes. Oh
Can you
God.
stop sharing and reshare?
Okay.
So Ejibode actually said he understand it better now. So thank you for that answer, Abdulatif. So we have another question. Would you like to take that also? Abdulatif, can you confirm you can hear me? Abdulatif, can you confirm you can hear me, please?
Please go ahead. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So we have another question from Imran Abdulaziz. He said, if I'm building a small personal website, would I need to use auto scaling? When does it become essential to use it?
Okay, okay. Thanks so much for that question. If you are building a small personal website for yourself, um, that means what what you mean by small personal website is maybe something for people to check about you, to check about you. But the question now is, will you have a situation whereby you have a lot of persons to try to access your profile? Most likely not. Most likely not. But it doesn't take so much pain to set up an auto scaling. Should in case you could have situation whereby maybe you applied to several jobs, or and coincidentally two the recruiters are, maybe let's just say up to five recruiters are trying to access your website at a time, and maybe it's not, this is just a kind of scenario. But normally if you are building a small website, it might not need, but you can put it in place because you don't know what uh, can happen. You don't have any extra cost to lose. You are just setting. You only pay for what you use. So if you have any reason for a lot of people to access your profile, they will have easy access to it. And if it's just one person that is going, it will maintain as if you didn't increase or add any cost to whatever you've set up. So it's just a kind of normal thing just to put in the auto scaling in place. Even though with respect to this case study, it's not so significant when you compare it to like a kind of e-commerce website or a business website or a company's website. But personal self, maybe just one. So even if you don't put this in place, you might not see the effect, but like I said, it doesn't cost you anything to either put it in place or not to put it in place. I hope, I know I didn't give a kind of direct, but I just hope that you could pick up the points, the major point that I'm trying to bring out here. To summarize, your small personal website might not necessarily need an auto scaling group when compared to a kind of business website where a lot of people will go. So the reason why, just to recap again, the reason why we are doing auto scaling is because we don't know, when we don't have a kind of specific profile or like demand rate of that is coming. So we want something to handle whatever it comes. If it is high, handle it. If it is low, handle it. If, for instance, if there will be a time that your profile will be needed to be visited by many people, you don't know what can be caught. If you don't put auto scaling, there might be some people that won't be able to access it. So I hope this put a little bit of explanation to what I'm trying to say, and you'll be able to know, okay, this is a kind of answer that fits into your
Thank,
question. All right.
thank you very much, Abdulatif. Thank you for that. And I hope his answer actually gives an insight to the question you're asking, Imran Abdulaziz. So it seems we are having a network issue from so end. Abdulatif, would you like to give a demo on scalability, on dynamic scalability?
Okay, so majorly, it's sorry about the situation that the person, my co-presenter, due to network issue, it happens. So, but nonetheless, I'll just try to show you through how to actually create a load balancer briefly. And okay, okay, I think Nonso is back. Nonso is back.
Okay.
I think you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
All right. Okay. We can have you know. So
So sorry for what the battle I'm having with network. I've changed two networks from both MTN and Airtel. Ah, gosh, sorry. I guess
we can still see okay. Since it's coming up now,
you can
right?
bring
Okay.
right.
Yes. Yes. We can see it now.
Okay, okay. These are the load balancers that we have on AWS application load balancer network and gateway. Although there is this classic load balancer which AWS has literally retired. It is now a deprecated version of load balancer. What we'll have to deploy now is an application load balancer because it is best fitted for our purpose here. Um, Using network load balancer is like bringing a gun to a knife fight. And then gateway load balancer, we know is when you want to integrate with a third-party application. So we go on to create an application load balancer. I guess you all can hear me.
The your audio is kind of breaking. The network is actually fading tonight. Yeah. So I think since Ablative has a good network, can we just have the demo from Ablative now, so he can just give answers to the questions. So Ablative, can you come up and give us a demo? We can't actually see what Noso is doing. The network is failing here. Ablative, please, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I think it's progressing. No, so can you hear us?
The network is bad from his end.
Okay, so just a little bit of patience. Yeah, so um, okay, so let's see what we can try to do briefly. So we really apologize for the little for that situation. Nomso, are you still with us? Nomso, do you want me to go ahead?
I can
Or
hear
are you
you,
still
but it seems nobody is hearing me.
okay? Okay, let's just maybe just to save our time, maybe let me just quickly take us through it briefly. Then you add some explanation. Is that good?
You can just go ahead with that. Thank you, Ablative.
All right, all right. Um, okay, so please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen. Yeah.
All right, so everyone, thanks for your patience. And things like this happens. We are so sorry, but briefly, I'll just take you through the ways of uploading the demo. In my slides, I showed you the key stages, and that's what we'll actually be following. So the first thing that we are going to do is to go to the EC2 dashboard. And here, if you can see, I've recently visited. Actually, before now, I've created an EC2 uh, which is currently off. Definitely, I don't want to leave an EC2 on. So for people, we'll go to the EC2, and what we want to do is to um, create a key pair. It's very essential to create a key pair. So for you, the first time that I created one, you can see my screen, I actually created one already when I was just preparing. So it's a straightforward thing. You just put it demo. I just want to take you through this. There's PPK for putty and there's open SSH. Do you know the importance of this? Let me just quickly take that. When I initially did this, I had issue. I was trying to access my load balancer and I couldn't access it. So I wanted to confirm if my instance is working. It was through this key that I was able to go into my instance. So I used the PEM because I use SSH and you just create. So when you create, there will be a file download that will have the details. And can you see? So what's the next thing to do? We want to create the launch template. The auto scaling group, you just see how we go. So we go to the launch template. We are not creating the instance directly. Can you see? Initially I've created one which is currently off, but I will just take you through creating it again. And when you want to create, you come here. It's very simple. So we can just say auto scaling. You give it a name, auto scaling. Abdurrahman, please can you confirm if you are following? Abdurrahman, hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you for your response. All right. So I just want to be sure. Okay, so auto scaling group. So then you choose this description. It could just be demo for auto scaling, Yeah, something like this. Scaling. Yeah. So then you need to select we are talking about computing resources. I could just select maybe the risk do not launch. No, do not launch in templates. You have to browse the AMI and choose what you want. I will prefer to select a Linux, part of um the free tier. Can you see eligible for free tier? Even though my account is more than a year, but we can just use like kind of this. I will select this second one. You can choose the first one if you like. I can just choose this second one. So I've selected it. So after picking that, uh you now select the kind of instance type. You've selected that you want Linux. You now need to bring instance type. So you will see I want to select something under the free tier eligible. So in case if we have some people you actually can be following through if you have a free tier account, and that's why I'm using the free tier resources. So remember that we created a key pair name. That was the first thing that I did, the demo. So can you see the reason why I first did that? If I had not done that, I won't be able to select in case if I don't have any. So I select that. So I think after that, okay, another thing. So normally there should be a way to use a website to test this, but we don't want it to be complicated. I will just put something. Normally we can upload maybe a website file or anything, but I'll just put in a kind of page just to echo welcome to the AWS demo. So it's just something just to, you will see at the end of the day when we uh, finish creating. Just a minute, I want to copy the file. I just want to copy the document. Please just give me a minute. Okay, I'm coming. So like I said, I want to copy we want to like simulate a kind of website. So we just want a page that we can be able to access. So like a kind of content. So I want to copy the code that can just display on the screen that yes. So, and if you can see, I'm pasting it now. So this code, we just this on a web page, you just put welcome to auto scaling demo. Then after that, don't forget, if you have a website file on your system, you can just choose file and choose an HTML file or upload any information. So after that, don't forget those are the major things. Other things can be chosen based on respect, but I just prefer to go with the default since this is just a demo. All right, so we create the launch template. So can you see the launch template is creating? All right, now that's the launch template for instances. What next? We've created the launch templates. Now we need to create the auto scaling group. So now let's go back to auto scaling group under EC2 instance. Sorry, let me remove this. Okay, great. So can you see um, on the right, on the left hand side, can you see auto scaling group? Abdurrahman, please can you confirm if you are still with me? Abdurrahman? Uh, okay, so on the right hand side, we have the auto scaling group, and when you click it, so we now want to do the auto scaling group. So this was the initial one that I created. I will just take us through so that we can create another one. Demo auto scaling, just give it a name, demo auto scaling. So can you see? Then the launch template, we created a launch template before now. What, I don't know, maybe just to see people that are following, could anyone remember the name of the template that we created? Is it auto scaling template or auto scaling? Let me see if anyone is still following me. I'm waiting for your response before I go ahead. I've not gotten any response. I'm very sure our moderator is taking note of this to see who gives the response, at least it's part of the activity. Yeah. Okay, not to waste our time, I will just go with what I chose. That's the auto scaling was what I created. So then we have to select the we have to select. After selecting this, I will just leave everything as default. I'll go to next. The next is to select what type of instance launch, the VPC. So I'll just select the VPC, then the subnet. This you can select as much as subnet that you want, but I'll just select subnet US East 1 and US East 2. You should know that when you are selecting your subnet or availability zone, you should know the range where you want to have it. So after that, I'll just go to next. So now integrate with other service. I'm not sure I have anything to integrate. I'll just go with default. I'll go to the next. So configure grouping and sizing. So this is place where one of the things where you set your policy in a way. Can you see? This is the desired size. Take for instance the person that wants to do a personal site. This you have, you know that the group size that you want is 1. Then the minimum size is 1. Then the maximum size you could just put it as 2. If it's a maybe a kind of business size, they could put it as small as 10. But that doesn't mean that they will all the 10 will be configured automatically. It is as when needed. So that I will just put it as 2. Then can you see? I talked about target policy, target tracking policy. Can you see the option? So this is the option. So from the target policy, I want to add, I want it to check average CPU utilization of the resource. So what's the value that I want it to do? This is 50. This instance warm up is just to show you that how many if you can read the explanation, is to specify the number of seconds that it takes for a newly launched instance to warm up. This warm up and code time are some key terms for that is used when auto scaling is being done. So these are, I'll just leave the rest as defaults. I really hope we are following. Then I think that's the major thing that we need to do. I will leave the rest as default. I will leave the rest as default. Can you see that everything is just straightforward? All the instructions are there. So we've created our auto scaling group. Can you see demo auto scaling? So now let's go to the load balancer. You know, we've done three things now. We've done four things for people that are following. We created the PEM file, the key file to access the instance. We created the policy, the EC2 launch template, which we used when creating our auto scaling group. The next thing is now the load balancer. Can you see the load balancer section on your right? I click the load balancer. Can you see that everything falls under the EC2 category? So this was the load balancer that was created earlier before now, but for the sake of this demo, this was what my co-speaker was showing us, uh, the types of load balancer that we started with, and this, and a little bit of correction to my presentation earlier. You know, I told you that I was a application load balancer, network load balancer, and classic load balancer. Actually, classic load balancer has been taken down, and there is now a new kind of gateway load balancer which also have its application, and everything is well explained here. So we just close this, and okay, I want to create one. So I was asked to choose type. The type that I want to create is for application. So I'll just create. So what do I need to do when it comes to the load balancer? I just need to do what? I need to give it a name, demo. Can you see? And internet facing. Yes, we want this thing to access internet and all. IPv4. What we have to, what again? The VPC has been selected. We need to select the availability zones. US, don't forget we selected US East 1 and US 1A and 1B when we are doing our earlier selection the other day. Then when it comes to the listeners, please, this is very important. You need to set your listeners to have the HTTP protocol 80. You can set HTTP or HTTPS. So I will set it. And the health part is also very, very important. So in terms, let me see, there's a, sorry, I hope I'm not rushing. So this is the HTTP and this is the 80. So if you want to create the target group, we can select the target group here, but I'll just create another one. So creating another target group, it actually took me to another tab, which I'll share now. So this the target group, and I hope you can all see my slide, my screen. I've gone to another tab because as I clicked creating a new target group, it took me to this place. I clicked instances. Then after that, I click HTTP, and what again, I will leave the rest as default. See, it's very important to put this as just slash so that it will be able to perform health checks on all the instances. This is very useful for debugging. So if next thing, oh, I didn't put a name, I just put demo. So demo, I okay, so I've created, and it's showing us that this is the available target. So create target group. So it's showing us that these are the available instance. So what I need to do is to select the necessary instance and then create, yeah, target group. So I create, okay, we notice that you have some selection that are not included as pending. If you want to include them in your target, oh, I will continue. No matter this, there will be a cleanup immediately after the demo, so that I won't incur so much cost. So anybody trying to test that too should know. So right now, you're telling me that we have zero LD and zero non-LD. So right now we need to now check how from our load balancer if it's displaying or not. So let me go and check my instances. Okay, so the instances is, which one did I recently create? 22. So this second one was the one and it's currently running. Let me see. Yeah, everything is fine. So, oh, okay. So now let me go back to the load balancer. Remember that we are talking about the load balancer before. So right now I will try to reload. Can you see I now have a target group? Please, I'm back at the application load balancer for those that are still following. So I've picked the load balancer and I'll be going ahead to create the load balancer. So I'll be creating the load balancer now, and yeah, so this will take some minutes, and I would just like to confirm if I'm still, while waiting for this to, okay, successfully created load balancer. All right, so let's try to see. Okay, it's saying provisioning here, so I need to ensure that it's active. So before we now see, so with this, majorly we've done what is necessary to be to do with respect to uh, for dynamic scalability. What have we done? We've been able to create our auto scaling group. We also created our load balancer, and don't forget we'll be able to attach our load balancer to the target group. So please, if you really follow through, you will see how I was able to do all this. And what we just need to do next is just to confirm. We just want to check. So two things left. We just want to check if our load balancer is working, and it's until this provisioning turns are active, that's when we can check that, so that we will see that, oh, our load balancer can now direct traffic to our auto scaling group. But for us to test the dynamic scalability, that's where it's expected. Let's say if everyone on the call, if we share the instance, we want to see how everyone is able to access, we'll see that there won't be no downtime. Another way to check is just to check out the CloudWatch metrics, which we can also do. But let's just give some time for the provisioning. I don't know, Abdurrahman, if there's any question for still pending, maybe you can ask it pending the time the load balancer finish provisioning. Okay, we are still waiting for. Oh, great! So now, and what we are going to choose now is the DNS name to check if it's going to to show us the web page. Let's coming. So it's still loading. Okay, just a minute. Let me see. Okay, so if you remember, there was a time that we created, I created a kind of script, and you see, welcome to the AWS auto scaling demo. So this is the script that I created just to show a page. So what that means is that if anyone tries to access this link now, irrespective of the demand, you'll be able to access it since we now have the AWS auto scaling. So this shows that we reach this site through the load balancer DNS address. So that's showing that our load balancer is connected to the auto scaling group. And this will be the end of tonight's demo. I really hope you've been able to gain one or two things or the other. And if you can see, it's something very simple to set up. And that will be all. That will be all from me. Thanks so much for staying through. Okay. Well, it's possible to run stress command maybe through the necessary Apache, but I didn't plan for that. But um, we it's something that definitely could be done and you will see the impact. But one key thing that I've tried to ensure that you see is that the load balancer is connected to the autoscaling group. So that means whenever the traffic is being taken by the load balancer, the autoscaling group is is receiving it and doing necessary things. So we can ensure that autoscaling is working well and the load balancer is receiving the load from the internet. So it's been a long night, and I'm really glad that we have quite a number of persons stay true uh, to till the end. Abdurrahman, over to you. You are currently muted. Okay. Hello, Abdurrahman. Numso, can you hear Abdurrahman?
Yes, I can. No, I can't hear Brahman, but I can hear you.
Okay, I think Abraman is having some issue at the moment. So, Numso, I'll just read some questions that are currently here for you to just help us with. So, the first question that I would just like to ask is from Ibrahim uh, Ejibode. If a company is running its infrastructure on premise, how does how if a company is running its infrastructure on-premise, how does the company scale up or down and distribute traffic across several across servers? Secondly, which one will you recommend? Vertical scaling or horizontal scaling?
Please,
This
can
is
you
a
hear me
great
now?
question. Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I
Hello.
think I'm having an audio issue here.
Okay,
Okay,
I
you can
think
go ahead and also.
Nomso is trying to
Okay.
answer a question.
All right.
Yeah, can you all hear my voice?
Yes,
Yes, I
loud and
can.
clear.
Yeah, the question is valid. Um, that is a case of a company running a hybrid architecture, right?
E- On
And
premise, on
that
premise.
is the yes, no, for you to use AWS auto scaling means that you are integrating with, you're working with a hybrid architecture. You have your servers running on-prem, but you still want auto scaling something on the cloud so that in case of a spike in request or load, there is something, because obviously there is nothing that can scale to buy you new computers on-prem. If you're talking about auto scaling, it means you are integrating with something on the cloud, which is a hybrid architecture. And that is really the use case for gateway load balancer. That is the appropriate use case for gateway load balancer. You launch a load balancer in your AWS environment and associate it with the gateway load balancer endpoint in your VPC. And then the gateway load balancer will act um, as the central point for managing and scaling third-party virtual appliances. So for you working with on-prem infrastructure and you want auto scaling, it means that you are going to be running a hybrid, and then gateway load balancer is what gives you that. So, but talking about scaling, what would you recommend? Vertical scaling or horizontal scaling? Vertical scaling is first, horizontal scaling is increasing the number of your machines. Now, while vertical scaling is maybe increasing the compute capacity of the party. Oh, you have one or a specific number of machines, but now you set it such that if it encounters overwhelming workload, maybe you have the T2 micro, it can now scale up to something more high, and not just that T2 micro, it can now go up to a higher compute capacity. So for me, it will always depend on your use case. It will always depend on your use case. But one thing you must not forget is that the higher the compute capacity, the more expensive the machine is going to cost you. I don't know if you understand me. I don't know, Ajibode. The higher the capacity of the compute you are using, the operating system, the higher you're going to pay. Maybe it can add up to 5, 10 new machines. You are still going to remain at that at the threshold, and you're not going to incur more. But once you scale vertically to increase the compute, so these are things you have to consider: your workload, the capacity you need, and then the expense you want to you are ready to incur. So that could be an answer to that. I don't know if that answers your question.
So thank you very much, Nam. So Ibrahim Ajibode, if that okay, great. He said yes, he understands. Thank you very much, our speakers, Abdul Latif, and also I would like to also appreciate our participant that has actually stood with us to this moment. We encountered some network issue, which is a common issue in Nigeria, and we we've been able to actually show the demo which Abdulatif has actually addressed. Thank you very much. So I can see a question here. It says, can we run stress command to increase load on the server too? And who would like to answer that?
No, Abdulatif addressed that, but it is possible I could have done it, but my network is really. What that means is simulating a load on the server that he has created. There's how you can use some Linux commands to stress the particular machine to make the processor to work really, just like when you're opening Photoshop on your normal HP. You know, Photoshop is a very big application, and you may hear your computer humming more loudly. So stress command, that is the kind of thing it does to that Linux machine to make it look like it is carrying a load. And that would have worked with creating a CloudWatch policy, which will mean that your CPU utilization will determine when the auto scaling will scale. If the CPU, maybe the utilization of your compute capacity comes to 80%, when you stress the machine and the utilization goes up, it will now create automatically another machine to support. I don't know if that explains it. So, who asked the question? We understand, but unfortunately, I'm not able to do that from from my end because my network is not so strong.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Num. So, all all I've been getting from this session has actually been like value, getting that value. And I would like to appreciate our speakers, Abdul Latif, and also. So don't forget, our we have another series which will be coming up tomorrow, and tomorrow we are actually expecting our DevOps engineers from Arthurite Indicated to give us an overview on AWS DevOps services, how to automate CI/CD pipelines with code pipeline. You don't want to miss tomorrow's session. We have Paul and Akonde to be giving justice to that. So thank you very much, all. We sincerely appreciate your time. The series keeps continuing, and don't also forget we're having our partner event in Lagos uh, through Larry by on the January 29. Do ensure to be there. I appreciate everyone who has joined this event. Thank you very much, all. Do have a restful night. Bye.